We are back with another episode of the Construction Mentor Podcast. My name is Ike. I am your host. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at The Construction Mentor. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I'm sure you can catch it some other places. What are we here to do? We're here to promote the construction industry as a viable path to the dream future for you. If you're already in the industry, we want to show you how to rise up the ranks to take that career to whatever height or whatever that dream future is for yourself. There is no ceiling in this industry. That is the one thing that everyone needs to understand. If anyone takes away anything from this podcast or anything that I post, let it be that. Let it be that you can do as little or as much with your career as you absolutely want. But no matter what you do with your career, it is an above average, very affluent lifestyle. Today, we have a very interesting guest. It is somebody that is going to bring a perspective that nobody has hit before, but a lot of people creep into my DMs. Not too many comments on there, but a lot of people creep into my DMs. And if a few people do, then I know it's probably 10x that have the same question in their mind. I've had more than a few people reach out to me. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about people who have made it down the path of life a certain distance, and they feel as though that it's too late to turn off that path and get onto another path to enter the construction industry. Who I have here today is Nick Stevens. Nick Stevens is with Legacy Decks, and he did that. Not only did he make a midlife change after a midlife crisis, and I don't mean that in like the cliche sense. I mean it as literally a time of intense difficulty in his life. He made a change into the industry, but he did it, and it was kind of a failure to launch. It didn't work out well initially, but it wasn't the end of the road. Like I always say, there are multiple career paths. There are multiple directions that you can take your career and your lifestyle in the construction industry. It is not one size fits all. They are not all created equal, and it's never the end. So with that, Nick Stevens, how are you?
Hey, I appreciate that. That's a heck of an introduction. Appreciate the opportunity to be on here and, help contribute to the construction industry. Like you said, I had a different career path, got thrown off my path and realized I needed to find some direction and found a mentor for myself in our owner here at Legacy Decks, Chris Breen. And that kind of started my rebirth, my journey into the construction industry, which has provided me a lifestyle, a level of income, really everything that I was looking for in my previous career, and was looking at it in all the wrong places and ended up finding it here at Legacy Decks.
You know, that it's a really important thing that I want this platform that I'm trying to build here to turn into is almost like a growth platform, like a personal growth platform. And there's a lot of growth porn going on social media and things like that. But I think the construction industry needs it. And I think that it's what I find very interesting about your situation is that you kind of found both at the same time. You found one and the other. So I think it's very unique, and I'm excited to talk about that. So typically we go to early life, but I don't want to do that with you. I want to start with where you were, what you were doing, and what life looked like, because it kind of took a nosedive where you found your own rock bottom. So before you went into construction, how old were you? What were you doing?
So I joined Legacy Decks. Yesterday was actually 7 years with the company. So I was about 31 years old when I joined. But previous to that, I was working in software sales, doing business development for a large, Fortune 500 company that had an office here in Greenville, South Carolina. Prior to that, I was doing commercial insurance brokerage with another multinational company. And then right out of college, I was working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So I was trying to climb the corporate ranks, be the cog in the wheel, just, do the right things, work hard, get promoted to the next level, go to the next level, go to the next level, and, work my whole life, hopefully have enough in my retirement account to call it quits at 65 and then figure out what I want to do with my life.
And that seems to be like the career path or the life path that a lot of people take unintentionally that go to college, right? Especially when you go to college and, you go for liberal arts or you go for a business degree. It's like, all right, well, what the hell does business mean? What are you going to do, right? You have no business to sell anybody because you don't have a skill.
Yep.
And what they end up doing is they end up working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They end up working at an insurance company. They end up working at whatever, insert office job by just default, Right. And
Yep.
it's like I posted yesterday, even at JP Morgan, everyone knows JP Morgan, biggest financial industry in the world. CEOs like, it really doesn't even matter what your degree's in
Yeah.
because you don't know anything. And we're gonna have to teach you when you get here anyway. Right.
Yep. Absolutely. And that was really my story is I was trying to do the things that I thought were the right things to do, the kind of the American dream, go to college, get out, you get a good job that's got, health benefits, 401k, you meet a girl, you get married, buy a house, you have some kids. And I was following that career path. I had found a woman, we had gotten married, we had bought a house, we were talking about having kids. And then she dropped a bomb on me of that she wanted a divorce pretty soon after getting married. And that was a real shell shock to me. It was a gut punch for sure. And what's kind of crazy is that she told me this the day before Chris sent me the offer letter to start here. And I almost didn't take the job because I'm like, this is a huge, like, I got to focus all on this. I can't do a job change. And I'm very thankful that when I talked to her about it, she said, hey, you've been talking about wanting to work for this guy for a year. You better take the job. And so I did. And it was kind of one of those things that I did not realize how much that conversation with my ex-wife was going to mean to my future.
Mm.
Because I probably would have walked away. I would have taken, I'll just stay in this cubicle job. I'll keep grinding it out here, not being really happy with the trajectory of my life. And I'll focus on saving my marriage. And I'm glad I didn't do that because that put me into working with Legacy Dex, coming on as a project manager, and learning a new skill set. Somebody that I had worked a few, odd jobs here and there in college of working with landscaping, humping pavers, carrying, bushes to where the guys that knew what they were doing told me to put it.
Mindless young man stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. My boss there used to tell me, you get paid to stink, not to think. Just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people think that's what the trades are. That's a good way to get in, but that's not what a skilled trade is. No. So, before we get into the, that opportunity, it's funny, whether you're a man of faith or you believe in the universe or karma, whatever it may be, it's very funny how those things kind of work out, right? Like a lot of people would say that the timing isn't a coincidence, that your wife does that, your wife at the time does that, and then that opportunity presents itself. The universe has a funny way of humbling you, slapping you in the face with reality, but then presenting you with the opportunities and the rewards that you need when you need them, even though they might not be the ones that you asked for. Right.
Absolutely.
So what was life like at that time? I mean, were you not the man your wife thought you were? Were you drinking? Were you depressed? What like led into that? And then where did it go from there? Did you spiral deeper? What did it look like?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I was definitely probably drinking more than I should. Not to the point where I thought, that I necessarily had a problem, but it was, just about every night getting home from work, having a couple of beers, not really doing much else with my life, just going through the motions. And I think the reason that it kind of dissolved was that I was trying to make our life easier instead of trying to make it better. And one of the things that she told me was that no matter how low she got, I made it comfortable for her there. So if she kept dropping down, I would just like, all right, we'll set up shop here instead of leading my family and taking the reins and saying, no, we're changing the trajectory of this household. We're changing the trajectory of this family and making something for ourselves. I just said, nope, I've got a good job. Let's just put it on autopilot and we'll make it to retirement. And it's not a very satisfying way to live. And, like I said, I'm thankful she made that hard decision to pull the ripcord quickly. But it was a kick in the teeth for sure. I was lucky enough that I had some friends that let me do some couch surfing because I moved out of my house, started the job here, and some nights there would be I didn't want to go and stay with my friends who they were actually a newlywed couple as well, and I'm like, I don't want to impede on them and bring my depression and my sadness into their happy home. And so I slept in my car a lot of nights, and it looked good on paper because I was usually the first one in the office in the morning, the last one to leave because I didn't have any place to go. And even with that, I failed to perform probably the way that no, not probably, I know I didn't perform the way that I needed to in that project management role. Probably from an aspect of not having the skill set needed for the construction industry. There's a lot of specifics when working with trades that I just didn't have that skill set. I was great working with homeowners, having those conversations, but and then me dealing with my my personal issues. I kept it from Chris and Amy for a little over a month that I wasn't living at home, and of course Amy, she knew right away. She has that mom instinct that she knew something was up, and so that kind of started there where Chris had started his personal growth journey, and he had given me an invitation, not an obligation, to have me come under his wing and from a personal level. And I rejected it 3 different times.
So let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're talking about a little bit, but I want to make sure that anybody who's listening or watching understand who Chris is and Amy and how all that ties in. So
yeah.
So you're couch surfing, you're semi-homeless, right? Trying to get back on your feet. What's going through your mind there? You just took on a new job in a new industry and you're trying to find yourself there. Not an easy one.
Yeah.
In a high pressure job. I can't stress enough how much people don't understand what it's like to be a project manager in construction until you are one. It is a very high stress level job for a reason. What was going through your mind at that time? Were you playing the blame game? Were you blaming everybody but yourself? Were you taking accountability right away?
Probably a little bit of both there. I was definitely thinking that I didn't deserve this. I had done all the right things. Why was this happening to me? Especially early on, I was definitely battling with some pretty bad depression, certainly some suicidal thoughts at times. And just, the drinking continued even more so, where that was really the only thing that could kind of numb it for whatever, time period I could. And it got to the point where I didn't want to be, here in, the upstate of South Carolina. I was talking about moving out west and selling all my possessions, living in the back of a truck with my dog and going to become a fly fishing guide out in Colorado. And, just because I'm like, oh, it's easy. I won't have any responsibilities. I can be mobile. I can run away from my problems again.
It was a way to lower the bar for yourself again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so, prior to my wife, I would say that I only had one serious girlfriend, and I was kind of in the same mode. And even when I first met my wife, and I made some huge mistakes, and it all revolved, or any kind of depression or turmoil or anxiety or excessive drinking always revolved. I didn't realize it at the time, but it all came back to one thing. It was that I didn't have a purpose to serve. Right. I was always looking to lower the bar. And I think that as young men in this country, we have created this culture where it's cool to have the girlfriend that lets you do whatever you want, right? That doesn't hold you to a standard. And not to say that you want somebody to walk all over you, or, run your life, or, demand certain things of you. But the difference between, my wife, even 3 to 4 years into our relationship, that I realized was that she inspired me to want to raise the bar.
Yep.
Without even saying anything. Not to get the $2 million house on the beach and be comfortable and do nothing and do less, but because I wanted to create a legacy for a family. I wanted to create a certain lifestyle for her. I wanted to protect, to provide. I want to be the best version of myself, to serve her and to serve our family. Which, so to any of the young men listening, especially those, in high school or in their 20s, and they're in the dating world, or they're with somebody now, think about that, because it has a huge impact on your life. And I'm sure you look at your relationship with your current wife, because you're married, right? And you're expecting your second child in a couple of weeks. I'm sure you look at that situation entirely differently. And the success of that relationship reflects that.
Absolutely.
So Chris owns Legacy Decks.
Yep.
And how did he find out about you And like when we say legacy decks, we're talking about a construction company that focuses on decks, like outdoor decks, outdoor living, at homes, primarily residential homes, right? So how did he even find out about you in the first place? Like, what about him were you attracted to for a year prior to your divorce?
Yeah. So what had happened was I was working commercial insurance and was let go from the firm that I had that I had started working with, and I had joined a young professionals group called Pace Setters, and one of my mentors in that group actually had started doing some business coaching with both Chris and Amy because they had just moved back to the area, started the company, and he said, "You know what? You should meet these people. I think you'd be a good fit for them."
Chris and
And
Amy
so,
being they're a married couple.
correct. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
And so Chris and I meet up at a Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee, and we just talk. And I remember leaving that meeting and just saying, "There's something about this guy. The charisma. It's like anybody that ever meets him. He's super charismatic. Great listener. Wants the best for people." And I remember leaving that, and I'm like, "This is the type of boss that I've been looking for. Somebody that I feel sets a high standard for himself and is a true leader, not just a manager of metrics and numbers and things of that nature." And so I was very interested. Obviously, I couldn't, they weren't quite ready to bring in some people at the time. And so I got that job doing business development for the software company and kept in touch with Chris. Every couple of months, I'd shoot him an email saying, "Hey, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet?" Like I knew that I had to chase that one down. And then the email came through, and I was like I said earlier, I wasn't ready to go. I still needed that external push at that time in my life. But then, like I said, yesterday being 7 years with the company, it's the longest I've ever done anything other than breathing in my life.
So it's a very interesting perspective to share. A lot of young people are very introverted today, right? Mm-hmm. Like I talk to young men in my neighborhood, teenagers, I coach youth football, and they stare at their phones and they don't understand the importance of talking to people and to network. Mentorship and experience are the two most important things. A good conduit for those things is networking.
Yep.
What am I saying? I'm saying take all the cups of coffee, take all the lunches, listen to people. Again, the universe, God, whoever it may be, whatever entity it may be, puts people in your life when you need them, even though you might not be looking for it. So, you're not going to find a mentor unless you're putting yourselves in those situations, right? So, how do you do that? I always say that everyone has a light, right? And that light doesn't shine unless you're trying to make the best version of yourself every single day. You weren't ready at that time. You weren't ready to shine that light because you weren't at a point where you realized that you needed to shine it. The target in your brain wasn't in the right spot, right? Yeah. So I don't think it's a coincidence that got delayed, for a year.
Mm-hmm.
But when you shine that light and you're serving that purpose and you're trying to make that light brighter and brighter and brighter every day, not only does the depression and anxiety, the darkness leave your life, but that light shines and people can see you. People, the Chris's and Amy's of the world can see you and they're attracted to you. They see your potential, and they see you as somebody that they want to help. So you get in the company now, right? And he's simultaneously starting like a men's group or a personal development group. But that didn't come right away, right? It was project management right away, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It did not go well.
So day one, like no construction experience.
Yeah.
No professional construction experience, right? Like what'd you walk in? What'd they have you do? What was it like as a project manager in what I would say is a residential construction company?
Yeah. So really walking in, it was drinking from the fire hose mentality of getting up to speed with building codes, terminology, and shadowing Chris around every single job site, going and visiting job sites, talking with our builders, just to get to know them, build their confidence. But it was really, there was such an education gap in terms of knowledge. Like there was only so much time in a day for me to get the knowledge that I needed to be able to, do material takeoffs, get material to the guys, then collect draws with homeowners. We were still a startup company, so there's a lot of hats I had to wear, and trying to learn all of those hats at once, it was just, I was never going to be great at all of them. There'd be days I was good at collecting money. There was days I was good at sending off material orders. There was days that I was good at uploading photos into the CRM that we were using at the time. So, but they never all clicked at once for us, unfortunately. So it was just a lot of struggle. And we had one salesperson, Kyle, who is no longer with the company. He left to start a nonprofit himself. And what was funny is at the end of the year, we were having a meeting, the three of us, and it was very clear that I was in the wrong seat. But I had started to show attributes that I was the right person for the company. As Kyle told Chris and I in the meeting, is that Nick is the type of guy that shows up every single day, gets his ass kicked, and comes back the next day ready for more. Like you don't get rid of an employee like that.
Yeah, that counts for something. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we clearly don't have him in the right seat. And Kyle said, I want him over on sales. And that was at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, that I made that transition away from project management into sales. And that's something.
Can I pause you right there? So a couple of things. Number one, you made an entry into the construction industry in a management level position, right? A lot of people don't understand that you do not have to come through the trades into the construction industry to capitalize on these opportunities, right? It's not all boots and jeans. There's people that need to run projects, and very often they don't have any actual hands-on experience. So you can do that. On the flip side, it is not the only role to be in a position to run projects as a project manager, right? So you can be an executive, you can be a department manager, or you can go on the other side of things. Most companies are structured where they have people that price jobs and then people that run jobs. There's estimating and then there's operations. And then there's a third branch, which is kind of on the estimating side, but it's really more of a BD, right? B as in boy, D as in dog, business development role, where that's sales. I had somebody on a few episodes ago Scott, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And he's in sales for products. Well, the construction companies actually have to sell too, whether you're a general contractor, a subcontractor, whoever it is, somebody's going to go hunt. Somebody's going to go put food on the table. And I think you'd be surprised how often those guys, people that aren't in the industry, how often those guys and girls, I don't want to say don't know what they're talking about, but it's a different skill set, right? Like they can't talk nuts and bolts, but they know how to appeal to people, to sell them projects, right? And to sell them a certain design or a certain spend or budget, or, create a certain dream for somebody. So there's a range of opportunities in the industry that you come in. It doesn't have to be through the trades, and it doesn't have to be for a specific skill set, is what I'm saying. So if you could tell me more about what your mindset was like as you were getting kicked in the teeth every day, and, very clearly not flying on your own, right? Like you fell out of the nest and just kept falling on your face, while trying to pick yourself up. I mean, you're in a situation where you're bouncing from car, in between cars and couches, and battling depression in a situation where you felt like, you like you said, you're having suicidal thoughts. So what's that like to fail at work in a new industry with that type of stuff going on in your mind?
It certainly didn't help my my mental stability. If anything, it really, for a while there, it was reinforcing the aspect of that. Okay, like I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes to be successful in this life. Here's another thing that is completely in a different direction. Okay, I'm changing it up. I'm going into the construction world. This is going to be completely different than all the past other failures that I had. And here we are again, same spot, not being successful at what I want to be doing. Now I don't know what I want to do. Now I'm just going through the motions again of like, let's just make it to the weekend. Let's just make it to happy hour. It was really just, it was really frustrating every single day to come in knowing that I had the feeling that I was letting everybody around me down.
That's tough. And I've definitely been there myself. So how did that turn around? At what point, I mean, in that first year, did the growth path start? And what did that look like? Like, how did you start changing the mindset? And was that at the same time that you jumped to sales, or did your mindset change? You started improving as a person, and then it was, oh, you know what? Let's go put them in sales. It was the chicken or the egg, or both.
Yeah. So the personal development aspect of things didn't really start until right before I made the jump over into sales, right when I was in that transition period of finishing up the jobs I was managing, bringing on, new clients, running appointments from the sales perspective. But Chris had actually reached out to me multiple times saying, "Hey, invitation, not an obligation. Like, I'd like to help
Mm,
you with some of the personal things that you're going through." And I was scared to look in the mirror.
mm,
I didn't want to address my shortcomings. I didn't want to come to the realization that I was 100% responsible for everything that had occurred in my life. Um, and I wasn't there yet. And it finally came in January of 2018 is the first class that we did of our iteration of LDX,
mm,
which is Legacy Day Experience, and that was our first iteration. We had 5 guys in that group. Um, like kind of the slack ass I showed up 3 days late, so had to catch up on my daily assignments because I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I was ho humming, and then finally I'm like, what's there to lose? Like, if I fail at this, it'll just be like everything else I've been doing recently. I'll just fall short again, or hey, this might be the trajectory that I needed.
mm.
Um, and then 10 days in on our daily assignment is January 17th, 2018. I refer to it as my rebirth day. That was kind of that. Not everybody has that light switch moment, but that was where I had my light switch moment where um, I can say that my faith in Christ probably started there.
Mm.
Um, my understanding of what my responsibility for things were. Um, I wasn't to blame for everything, but I was responsible for everything in my life. And that was a huge moment for me where I took everything that I was harnessing in terms of anger towards my ex-wife, anger towards myself, anger towards my situation in life, and I just we call it release the rage, and
Mm.
I just let it out, and it got out, and I still, well, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now because it's like when you say the universe, I was like, I just gave it back to the universe and it balanced me inside. It changed everything of what I realized I wanted, where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be as a person. And then the fact that I had other men around me that surrounded me with just support and love and, like, I mean, shared laughs, tears, hugs, like all of that in that day. And that to me was such a game changer. And really, I would say, like, if you said when did the personal development start, it was January 17th, 2018.
Yeah, I think aside from looking in the mirror for yourself, even harder than that is you had your boss standing behind you,
Yeah,
looking in the same mirror, right? So it's not even like you're just one on one. You're doing it with somebody that you're supposed to try to impress, that you want to believe in you and think that you got your shit together and that you deserve more money and more responsibility and all these things, right?
yeah,
So, I can see why that would even add, to the hesitation to get involved in a program like that or to even open up. Um, what I would also say is, I just had a post like 2 days ago where I had a kid who was a young electrician
hmm,
complaining about his situation. And I said, mentorship. It's a sign that you're in the wrong situation, that you don't have mentorship. The fact that Chris and Amy were your bosses and they want this company, this thing that they're building to be this platform to serve people like you, to serve a purpose, is the exact type of mentorship that you want. And it's available. Now,
absolutely.
as far as it goes, opening up to people about stuff like that. I work at a very large GC. I work at, I'm not my own entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I work at one of the larger GCs in the country, $10 billion plus a year revenue. I know more about certain high level executives, like with V's and P's in front of their title, than most people could imagine. I have shared my downfalls with them. I've shared my pain points. I've shared my low mental states. They've shared those with me. I know things about their marriage. I know things about addictions and struggles that they have. I know things about domestic situations that they've gone through recently and things that they aren't proud of. They don't just tell me that, they share those things with me because we are trying to make each other better, right? We're trying to be there for each other. And it's those enhanced relationships that really make a business run better, because you have people that want to go to war for each other and with each other.
Yep.
And if you can be that type of person, if you can be that type of leader, if you can be the type of leader that you wish you had and share some of your vulnerabilities in the name of helping somebody else, that's how you get people to follow you, right? That's how you rise up in the ranks. That's how you build your own company and get people to stay and get people to follow and fight with you, fight that fight behind you. So I think it's incredible, what you found when you found it, and, that you became a part of it. And I think that what Chris and Amy are building, that's a great purpose that they have. And I hope that more people do the same. Now, I think it's pretty clear that part of their purpose is, this business, obviously to make money, but to serve people like yourself, Do you have a purpose? Do you have a newly defined purpose to serve? And if so, what is it? And how has that helped you, keep going on that upward trajectory with your life now?
Yeah, no, I definitely have a new purpose now, and it's similar to following in the footsteps of what Chris provided me, and that's stepping into helping other men in the LDX program. We also have our Legacy Decks Academy, where we're helping other deck builders with their systems, processes, and sales systems. That's what I focus on primarily with that. And now I get to help people become better fathers, better husbands, better stewards of their body, better stewards of their finances. I love what you just said, the entrepreneur. Like, that's how I view myself. Like, I have all the attributes of what an entrepreneur is, but I'm not going out to strike it on my own, because I know what I have here, and I'd much rather reach the mountaintop with the team that we have here than try and do it on my own. Because I know what we have here is special. But in terms of my purpose, that's what it is everybody in our industry, we niched into the decking world. And I know there's a lot of super talented builders, super talented craftsmen that maybe need that support, like you said, of, hey, we want to support you not just in your craft and in our field, but if you show up better as a husband, as a father, it's amazing that your days at work seem to go a little bit smoother. And then when those go smoother, it's easier to come home and show up the way that you want to, the way that your spouse wants you to. And it fuels you on both ends. And like you said, my wife now, she's in that same boat where she holds me accountable to what I say I'm going to do, not, hounding on me or anything. And she's like, well, you said you were going to do this. And it's like, yep, I did. So now I've got to go do it. Yeah. And I'm glad that I have that accountability. So it's, and Chris, that's the thing too, is, not just Chris, everyone in this office has had the opportunity to go through LDX, and it's increased our, the atmosphere, the culture that we have here at Legacy, of where everyone kind of speaks the same language. Everyone knows what our dreams and aspirations are, not just that we come into work, punch the clock, do what we're said to do on our, job description, and then punch out and go home. Everybody knows, like, hey, what do your kids have going on this weekend? Hey, I've got to leave a little bit early to go pick my kids up from school. Oh, the wife and I are doing date night. Hey, does somebody need, childcare? Like, I've had, a couple people in the office have watched our daughter so that we could have a date night. Like, we work to help each other be better people in all facets of our life, not just, like you said, be here to make money and, do what our job description is and what our job, what our company describes to the people that we serve.
Yeah, the to the young electrician that I posted the
Yeah.
other day. I don't know who you are or where you are, but if you're somehow listening, not everybody's miserable.
Yep.
Listen to the situation that was just laid out there in the culture that they have at Nick's company. That's a dream, and it does exist. When we talk about serving a purpose, not everybody has to be their own entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to build your own platform, but you do have to find a purpose to serve. And when you do find that purpose to serve, that gives you the discipline and the hard work and the heart to get through the tough times and when the shit does happen, because shit will happen in your life. Nobody has all green lights in their life, right? It's having that purpose that pushes you through it and that makes you get a little bit better every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And does Nick love Dex? Yeah, I'm sure like he tells people that he loves Dex, right? But when he was 10 years old and his parents asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, it probably wasn't selling Dex.
Nope.
Right. But look at what he does. He helps build the man, and he helps them then build the business plan, which I stole from Scott.
Yeah. Which he got
right?
from us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So there it goes. Look at that. Look at that plug. He's helping build the foundation, and then he's helping people build their own businesses so that they have their platform. They can serve. They can employ people. They can provide and protect for their families better. And the last thing that I would say there is that in the construction industry, I had a whole episode of mental health and construction. Statistically, we don't look good. Put it that way. Suicide rates are 4 times the national average. Drug and alcohol abuse rates are double. It's just not good. And if you look at all the other statistics, a lot of people blame stress and just the industry in general and timelines and tight budgets and all these things. And I call bullshit. I think it's because we don't have strong foundations. We're builders, right? Doesn't matter how strong your columns are or your joists are or your railings are. If you don't have a strong foundation or piers or whatever it is, something in the ground to stand on, then you're going to crumble. You're not going to be able to handle any weight on your life. So when you're fat and overweight, which 73% of construction workers are, when you drink 5 drinks or more 5 nights a week, when you drink 5 drinks or more 5 nights a week, and more than half of the industry does that, you're not building a solid foundation when we have heroin and cocaine use twice the national average, when we have, alcoholism 2 to 4 times the national average. You can just go on and on and on. And divorce rates are through the roof in construction. We're talking about people that don't have strong foundations here. We're talking about a major cultural problem. So if that is you, if you're coming into the industry, again, realize mentorship is the way. If you're in the industry and you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, I want to take my career to this. I want to build this platform. I want to go out and start my own thing. I'm going to say it again. You got to build the plan, the businessman before you build the business plan. You got to build the foundation before you build up from there. And if you need help looking for that, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Nick. There's people out there. The ripple effect is growing.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of Ikes. There's a lot of Nicks out there. And if there's one good thing that's coming from social media, I think it's that. So now, what do you do? And did you ever response to that? I don't want to get away from it.
No, that was perfectly well said. So I don't need to add anything to that one.
All right. So when you talk about sales, what kind of numbers are you doing? What are you? What's your compensation look like? Why don't we talk about what do you do day to day? What's life in the life? A day in the life of Nick as on the sales side of Legacy Dex.
So, I mean, I've got a pretty well-structured day. Alarm goes off every morning, 5 a.m. I'm at the gym by 6:30, out of there by 7:30, back to the office by 8, and that's where I really start my day. So typically, I'm running on a weekly basis anywhere from 3 to probably max out about 5 new sales calls. So new on-site consultations with homeowners. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm in the office doing estimates, building out proposals, getting everything over to our designer to do our 3D renderings, all of that. So like right now, my pipeline, I've got a pretty hefty pipeline of people that I want to get closed before our son gets here at the end of this month. So it's going to be a pressure cooker for me, which I very thankful for. But this year, if I hit my target, I'm shooting for 2.5 million in sales this year. If I do that, then that'll bring my total sales in decks over the last 6 years to just over $10 million in decks.
Now, what's the average job size? Is 20 grand, 50 grand? What are people looking at for a deck typically?
So right now, last year, my average job was about 73,000. Obviously that's not going to be just the decking and, framing, all that, but we do a lot with screen porches, outdoor kitchens, kind of multi-use space. We're very lucky in the market that we have here. We have 2 phenomenal lakes that are around here, and obviously lake houses, a focal point is the back deck. So we have some fairly large projects, but right now I think this year our average project is just over the 6-figure mark. One of our salespeople, she came over from the project management team as well, came over to sales this year, and she actually just closed one back in March that was just shy of $500,000.
$500,000 deck.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a deck that I want to have a barbecue over that person's house.
I know. Yeah. They got just about every bell and whistle that you can imagine out there.
What lakes are we talking? Is that like Lake Norman?
So Lake Norman's up near Charlotte. We've got Lake Kiwi and Lake Hartwell. Okay. Yeah, they're both Army Corps of Engineer dammed lakes that were created back in the 70s, I believe. Okay. And so there's just a good market of people. We've got a lot of golf courses, private lake communities. And so it's just built up this area. Greenville's known for a lot of manufacturing. BMW has their SUV plant here. Michelin of North America is based here. So we have really strong industry here, and it's really helped our market and allowed for us to continue to grow over the years.
And I don't want to ask you how many hours you put in, but what is, because I don't think that's relevant now that I'm saying it out loud in my mind, coming out of my mouth. What's your stress level like? What do you feel like your bandwidth is like, now that you're on the sales side versus when you were on the project management side?
Oh God. I mean, it's a different level of stress. Definitely not, it's probably more the stress now. I would say when I was doing project manager, probably felt my stress level was on average that 8 or 9 out of 10. Right now, I probably stay pretty consistent at 7. But my ability to handle that stress and understand that stress isn't always the bad thing in life. Stress is sometimes a very good thing, especially for me. I seem to understand that I can perform well under stress, and it's all about managing that. So, in terms of hours, I'm a firm believer that decks never sleep. So sometimes, like last night, I was here in the office meeting with the homeowner until 6:30. There's some times where I'm, emailing or texting with a client that is, wants to talk at, 8 o'clock at night. So after I do my duties at home and everything like that, I'll hop on the computer and, do some things while my wife's reading or, watching her cooking shows. And so, it's one of those things. I've got to make it work where it works. But there's times like right now when my wife has doctor's appointments, I carve out time to be able to go home and be able to watch my daughter so that she can go and do that. So that's really the big thing there, is having that flexibility, making it work, or in all facets of my life is really the big thing. But most days I'm here sun up to sundown and working in that realm. But having that ability to say, hey, if I want to take a Tuesday off to go down to the Georgia Aquarium with my family, I can go do that.
Right. Yeah, I think with my role, since I've been an executive for a couple of years now, but getting away from the project management side and then getting into the executive side, it's a different kind of stress, a different kind of pressure, just because it's a different perspective. But I am built for what I'm doing now better than when I was working as a GC down in Florida, for just a lot of reasons. And I could do a whole episode on that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that stress is gone from my life, but I don't know that I want it to be either. Right. Like you said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a stress that I I like handling more. Like I like dealing with the problems that I'm dealing with right now. So that's all good. That's all good stuff. And you don't have to talk numbers, but what's your compensation structure like? Is it commission, salary? Did it start one way and then turn into another? What does that look like for anybody that would be thinking about following the Nick Stevens path?
So I went into straight commission when I
Straight
came
commission.
over into sales. Yep. And I love it because I don't like gambling because I can't impact it. I'm not going to go and bet on the Pats to win the Super Bowl because they're not asking me to suit up and they didn't consult me on draft night.
Right.
What I can impact is my effort, my input, and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So when getting into sales, getting into a commission only position, whether it be the construction industry or anything else, it is the best way to bet on yourself. And that's what I've really loved. It took a little getting used to, especially when my wife and I first started dating. And she's like, wait, you only got a $50 paycheck this week? And I'm like, well, yeah, that was just, the last draw. And, I'm not getting, a huge, percentage off that last draw. But then if I hit all my numbers, it's like, oh, wow, like there's a $5,000 paycheck one week. And it starts to add up. And, I've been able to steadily make over six figures doing deck sales. Every single year, my compensation has gone up based on my efforts. And that's the beauty of it. I don't have to go into my annual review and say, hey, I need a raise. The opportunity is out there. I can decide what I want to make every single year based on my output.
Right. And is there a cap on that?
No.
A lot of people in the comments saying that you're purely out there to make somebody else wealthy or rich. And I think you're going to see as the market gets more and more competitive, because we have, 7 people leave, only 1 comes in. That's going to be the differentiator, right? Because people can't guarantee incomes to a lot of people. Yep. I think commission based, not only sales, but project management, I think is going to be heavily incentivized. Right? Like run your project efficiently, make all the money you can, and people are going to start getting a cut because that's the no-brainer way for people to, number one, incentivize people to perform, but take the lid off of it, take the glass ceiling off of people to create their own wealth. Right. I mean, even at a company like mine, that's, doing a couple billion a year, a lot of people would love the opportunity to, hey, if I can squeeze my own juice, well, I'm going to squeeze pretty freaking hard then, and we're going to make a whole lot of money, right?
Yep.
Your boss isn't making money unless you're making money. So if you hit $200,000, then that means that he made a whole lot of money. So it's a win-win-win for everybody, right? So that's awesome. What's next for Nick? Keep doing what you're doing. Do you have a plan to step into a different role? What do you see, in the future for Nick?
So definitely, going to keep doing what I'm doing for probably the next, at least finishing up this year. Ultimate goal that we've outlined for me is to step more full-time into the academy side of things as we're getting more clients in that. It's just going to require more bandwidth, and having somebody like me that can help with the coaching, help onboard people, help them with their systems, processes, sales focused on that. That's really where I'm going to be stepping into. And then as we continue to grow our LDX brand as well, that will be where I'm one of the lead trainers in that alongside Chris, and allow for us to really start to grow that, start to impact men in such a positive way. And the beautiful thing there is the women got tired of getting held out of it. And so Amy and Lacey's one of our other salespeople, the one that sold almost a $500,000 project earlier this year. They run the women's side of LDX. So they help women with similar things that the men do. But as we all know, men and women are very different in how they approach life, the things that they encounter, all of that. So for us, it's, we want to impact people and in a positive way and help them find whatever it is that they're looking for and light that fire under them, that they can stoke the fire for them, not just a, external motivation, but something that burns inside them for a long time.
That's incredible. Well, that's awesome, Nick. Is there anything else that you have for anybody? Any advice for the old Nick Stevens? I always steal this from Ed Milet. but you are most qualified to help the former you. Do you have any advice for anybody that's in their, late 20s, early 30s, facing divorce, depression, drinking too much? Maybe they're sleeping in the car. They're on their back, and hopefully they're looking up, because you can only go up from there. But what would you say to the old Nick Stevens?
Give yourself a little bit more grace. It's life's hard enough, and you wouldn't talk that way to your best friend. So why do you talk to yourself that way? I've realized that in life, I failed my way to success. And most people, that's what success is. You try a lot of different things that don't work out. Didn't like that. That was a horrible idea. What was I thinking? And then you find the thing that you're wanting to do for the rest of your life, or for the rest of the foreseeable future. And I think that's something that a lot of people try to do early on is, I've got to get this perfect. I got to get this right. I'm a firm believer that choosing who you marry is probably the most important decision in your life. And I got that very wrong the first time around. But I learned from it, and now I am married to the absolute right woman. She is hands down the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And if I hadn't failed, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet that woman. And so that to me is, don't look at failures like most people do, in terms of just like, I suck, or I'm no good, or anything like that. It's like, nope, you're just one step closer to success, and I think maybe that's my sales brain. I know if I'm closing at a 25% ratio, if I got 2 no's, I just need 1 more no before I got my yes. So
that's right. It's a numbers game.
Yep. It's a numbers game.
So I don't know if you just saw, I just shed a tear. It might take me a second to get this out. So my son, his name is Grant, because my last name is Eisenhower. So, and I love history and U.S. history. So you Ulysses S. Grant, right? Yep. So double general, double president. My daughter, who was just born 2 weeks ago, her name is Grace.
It's my daughter's middle name.
For everything that you just said, right? I too was in a similar situation. You make mistakes, and like we said before, whether you believe in faith or the universe or whatever it may be, sometimes failure happens, sometime for a reason. Sometimes, I saw this video online where a guy was running around and he threw a guy on the sidewalk, and the guy looks up and he's like, what the hell? And then a bus drove by. The bus would have hit him had the guy not thrown him down on the sidewalk. And there was a few things like that happened. Sometimes God or the universe will throw you down, and you'll land on your face, and you'll scuff your face up, you'll scuff your palms, and you'll be all bloody, and you'll be mad at the world. But sometimes it's exactly what you needed to put yourself on the right path. Since I made my mistakes, I ended up moving to Florida and met certain people in my life, and opportunities have come of it that wouldn't have happened, and my life wouldn't be where it is today had those failures not happened. And as hard as I was on myself for a long time, and as difficult it was to look in the mirror, grace was the word. I had to learn to give myself grace, and I have to practice that. That's a muscle, right? Yeah. I still have to practice that every day. When I lose my temper, or when I have small failures here or there, or when I strive for perfection, because sometimes, the growth stuff is addicting, and you can't, that can't become your God either, right? No. Personal growth can't become the end all be all. You can't worship, hitting a power list every day, or hitting all of your personal growth tasks or whatever they may be, right? Not fulfilling those things every day is also part of it, and being able to handle that. So I obviously, you made me shed a tear, so I really appreciate what you just said. And
I could do that. Yeah,
I definitely align with that. So, with that, Nick, I thank you for coming on. I thank you for taking the time in the middle of your day. We are just, as predicted, we weren't going to hit it in 30 minutes, but we are going to keep it under an hour. So I appreciate you coming on again, Nick Stevens, at Legacy Decks and LDX. Nick, where do they find you, and where do they find LDX for the people out there that want whether it's the personal growth or the business plan growth?
Yeah. So if you're on Instagram, which most people are, you can find my handle on Instagram is Big Daddy Dex. And then we have Legacy Day X is our Instagram handle on there. So you're going to be seeing some stuff coming out here pretty soon because we have LDX 5 kicking off at the end of this month, early June. So looking for 12 to 15 men to fill those seats and be part of that program and see where it goes from there for them.
Awesome. So go make sure you follow Nick. I'm going to tag him in anything that I post. And Nick, let me know when those posts come out because I want to share those too for everybody. I want to make sure that people have them. Again, this is the Construction Mentor podcast. I hope you understand why we're here. But at this point, if you're still listening, 55 minutes in, you could always catch this on Spotify. That's most popular. Apple Podcasts is number 2. And then we do have a video feed on YouTube for those who like that as well. There are YouTube shorts. I'm posting the YouTube shorts on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. There's a little more content on there than you see on the Instagram or TikTok. And of course, you can find me on TikTok or Instagram at The Construction Mentor. And I think if you just type in Construction Mentor Podcast at this point, it comes up. So I hope you found this valuable. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, my name is Ike. I am your host. And we thank Nick for coming on. Until next time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.